Okay, thanks for that, Bill, and I'll take them in reverse order. Ditton Station, it is one of our 30 candidate stations in the long-term rail strategy, so it's in there, and I think it's the Halton Council to say whether it's their preferred station in the region. I get the feeling it might be, but yeah, that's for you and your colleagues at Halton to sort of tell us. One of the things we have done via Derek Twigg MP is actually check through the House of Commons library to see if there was any kind of covenants put in place when British Rail, as it was, closed Ditton Station. Unfortunately, we can't, via the House of Commons library, find whether there's any covenants to sort of keep it to a certain standard, which means it's less likely for us to get Network Rail just to go and pay for it, basically. But genuinely, I know there's a lot of work Halton Council doing, and we're linking in with all of that as well. So it is one of those that is a stronger candidate amongst sort of a number. In terms of buses and the sort of implementation of any new approach to buses, I just need to use the caveat, obviously, we're having to look at a number of different options, and the legislation is very clear. We have to take an evidence-based approach. I need to say that to make sure that that's not misunderstood on the record. We will bring forward a recommendation as to what the proposed model is in the spring. In terms of then introducing that, that will depend on a variety of different things. So let's use the scenario if it's a franchising structure. Obviously, you have to go through the process of effectively packaging up all the different routes that you want out to a procurement tender exercise, going through that, assessing who wins those bids, and then implementing those. Obviously, if that involves different companies taking over from the current companies, there are cheaper routes protected for employees that have to be gone through, and also there's how you might transfer some of the assets involved, like the depots and fleets and those kind of things. So you're absolutely right, it's very detailed and technical. We think that could, if it's franchising, take 2 to 3 years. The one thing we're very conscious of, though, is that the big bus operators are on record of saying that if that's what we recommend, they may well seek to take legal action to try to prevent us doing that. Now, that's their choice. If franchising is the right option on the basis of the work that we do, and it's a very strong option, then we will persist with that. But if we end up in a legal challenge, that could elongate the process somewhat. So I think the point is that any change in the bus network will take time, but if the compelling evidence is there, then let's go and do it. So,
thank you. The next question was from Sir Councillor Watson, CBE.
Thank you, Chairman. If you excuse the pun, you've covered a lot of ground, and it's been very helpful. Passenger usage, I think it's fair to say, is changing in a variety of ways. So, for example, more and more people are doing flexi time, the demand for services is not quite as bad in what used to be called peak time, etc., etc. That being the case, are you going to give any thought to altering the timing from when the concessionary passes for the elderly disabled can, not disabled, the elderly can start? Currently 9:30. I can't see any reason why that couldn't actually go to 9 o'clock because of the difference of being. And I don't need to tell you that one of the afternoon results, it didn't appear to have any adverse impact on regular commuters, and we rely on those because they pay the fares. So that's one point that you would comment on. I'm intrigued by this question about the London services and the bus. And I'm unclear how exactly that would work. If you're going to put together a package which includes a range of what, for lack of a better phrase, could be called the social routes that need subsidy, that has to be subsidised by those that aren't, which you've said. Where do you draw the line in terms of understanding what an operator would need in terms of income to achieve that? Because obviously if there's a big imbalance, then they're not going to be interested in doing it. They wouldn't be able to do it because they wouldn't have enough funding to run the service. One point, if I could ask you about the new trains, it's a very significant development, this, in terms of input. And I've had the opportunity of looking at it, it's good. The only point that's come across was the one that I think I might say came through the consultation process with the public, getting. Not entirely. So my question is, what's the percentage between the current 4x4, which people seem to like, and the new arrangements, which are going to include a proportion of what's referred to as airline seating? Because as I understand it, if you have airline type seating, you're sitting at the window, you can't get out unless the person next to you gets up and moves. There's not enough room. So in other words, there may be more seats, but they're small, to put it crudely. On the services to London, I mean, obviously this is controversial and difficult at the moment because of what Virgin have said, but you were indicating that you hope to have a more frequent service, not 30 minutes, but better. Is there a mechanism by which that can be by another operator? In other words, frankly, if there's no competition, you're not going to get really much in terms of improvement. Plus the fact that what Virgin have said is that, and it sounds good, but it isn't, they want to guarantee everybody a seat. You can only do that by making sure that everybody who travels pre-books. And the problem that we have on the route is that the cost of open tickets, which people need the flexibility for, particularly in business, are frankly outrageous. Can't be afforded by normal people. So if you're going to make that problem worse, and it looks as if they are, what alternative do you think might potentially be feasible with another operator who could allow a little bit more flexibility? And you did just briefly mention northern trains. You will know that the big issue as far as my area is concerned in Southport is the service to Manchester. Now, I'm going to know you're going to say it's not appropriate, but it is, particularly in view of HS2. I know you've been as helpful as you can in making representations and assisting us, but I'd like your assurance that that will continue, because it has been a major blow to stop the services. There's been some improvement, they've allowed a few, but nothing like as good as we have now. So that's gone backwards, big start. Thanks, Sean.
No, that's great. Quite a few to cover there. Again, in reverse order, absolutely we'll continue to sort of do everything we can to sort of restore those services from Piccadilly to Southport and vice versa. Very much so, that's the position of Secretary Council. So it's very much the combined authorities position as well. Genuinely, I pay tribute to the passenger groups, Oxford, that have done all the very detailed work. They didn't just sort of make the argument, they were able to demonstrate the evidence, and I think that's kind of what sort of has allowed it to improve where it is at this moment in time, but there's still a lot more that needs to be done. But there's a much wider argument about what needs to do in Northern, actually, as well, because it's not just services from Southport, there's a lot of other places where the services aren't what was promised when they first took on the franchise. In terms of the operation to London, I have to say, as a person who I do it completely differently, I bring it back in the public sector. As someone who's spent my working life predominantly on the railway, I don't believe privatisation has worked, and I don't think you get the right outcomes, of which things like those sky-high fares are a good example of that. I think if you bring it back in-house, then actually you can run it on a dividend basis, and actually what's currently being as a dividend can help go to sort of reduce the ticket prices. So I do it completely differently. I also think as well, let's argue for this on an evidence basis. We know that actually of cities in the north, after Manchester, Liverpool has the highest passenger level from London and vice versa of any city in the north. And actually we only get hourly service at the moment. Places like Leeds and Newcastle, for example, get half hourly when our demand is higher. So we should have that service accordingly. The other strong point as well is we're the only city in the north that has more people that come from London to us than going the other direction. So on an evidence basis, we deserve to have 2 trains an hour. So that's the way kind of I think we've got to win that fight. In terms of the new trains and the seating layout, you're absolutely right, it's not going to be all 4-style seats within there. I have to say though, one of the things that we're really proud of, I didn't decide the seating layout, none of our officers did, it's 40 everyday Merseyrail users who have basically kind of been brought together by Passenger Focus, that's the statutory transport watchdog, and those 40 people literally have designed the kind of internal layout of the train. So for me, what makes me very proud is we're not just doing public ownership in name, because it's all 1.6 million of us in the region who are going to own these trains. We're doing it in real practice because it's the actual users that have designed the trains and all the features at the heart of them. So I appreciate your point, but we've tried to put in place what passengers actually want, which is some 4 seats, some airline type seats as well. In terms of concessionary passes and sort of the bus issues, one of the challenges we get at the moment is literally about capacity on the network, and broadly speaking, the buses are full before 9:30. So one of the kind of discussions we often have with the bus companies is that if we wanted to allow pensioners onto the bus before 9:30 for free, how many more vehicles would be needed to be put on the road, and that would then be a cost that would be borne by us because we have to kind of reimburse the cost of the concessionary travel scheme, which we can't afford at this moment in time. Whether that becomes a different discussion with a different model, I think we'd have to look at that, because obviously even with a different model there'd be a finite amount of finance in the envelope that we could look at. But in terms of the way operators might choose to work under a different model, well, obviously we have very detailed discussions with the current operators. They are legally obliged and have complied in giving us their financial data to help us do the business case work in terms of what we're currently planning on doing. But they're not the only operators we've been speaking to. We've spoken to a number of non-incumbent operators across the country and beyond, actually to understand how they may or may not want to work in the Liverpool City region. I think for me there is a big discussion about the business model, and actually one that focuses on patronage growth and volume rather than yield per passenger. I think we should be looking at what's the right sort of model that can wash its face, but actually kind of focuses on how we get as many bums on seats as possible, rather than maximising the amount of money you can make on each individual passenger, which is conventionally how the industry has worked since 1986.
Councillor Watson, please. Councillor Murphy, sorry. Hi, Councillor Murphy.
I only indicated because of the fire alarm, sorry.
Okay, the next person on the list is Councillor Howard.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. I've got 2 questions. So first of all, you mentioned that there's been a 168% increase in young people using buses. Does that take into account or adjust in any way for the increase in student numbers in the city region, and are those numbers available broken down by local authority? And secondly, you mentioned the £15 billion boost to the region economy through the connection to HS2. Again, what is the anticipation that that will benefit all of the local authorities and not just the city centre? Thank you.
No, absolutely. Two genuinely really important kind of points. We've got to get further into the detail. In terms of the breakdown of young persons travelling, basically includes everyone that's under their 19th birthday. So you will have some students that are under 19 that will be buying some of those products. So it will be some students, but not necessarily all students. Yes, we should be able to get you a breakdown of how that kind of shakes down across districts. The main reason we did it, very, very bluntly, and the reason we saw it as such as a priority, we were finding hard evidence of children, particularly from large families, missing school on a Thursday and a Friday because the families couldn't afford the bus fares. And we thought this just is not acceptable. So that was the key impetus as to why we did it. We did know, particularly from some of the schools that we work with very, very closely, actually kind of rates of attendance have improved significantly since we put this package in place. It's not the limit of our aspirations. I think we'd like to go a lot further, but I think we're quite proud of what we've achieved in difficult circumstances, because again, we're the only part of the country, but outside of London, that's been able to put a package in place that's as good as this. In terms of the economic breakdown of the link to high-speed rail, absolutely, it has to be something that delivers for the whole region. If it just delivers for the city centre, then that's a missed opportunity. A lot of that economic study work actually does factor all of that in. It means that we'd need about 24,000 new jobs would be attracted here because of better links to and from London, but crucially, we need more than 10,000 new homes. Now obviously all those would need to be accommodated in the wider region. Also as well, we know it's no good just having a high-speed link that just drops people into the middle of the city centre. We've got to have a transport network that then suitably moves everyone around the region accordingly, hence why we're investing in things like brand new trains, so everyone can use those sort of links. The wider point is that, yes, we get very excited about that brand new bit of railway. The most important argument about it, though, is it creates new capacity. And that means on the conventional rail network we can do two things. The freight sort of services I was just talking about, how important those are to the region, but also as well, by sort of diverting some of those higher speed services onto that new line, we could run a few more local services. So for local commuting and local journeys, that should improve as well. So genuinely, it's seen as kind of a jigsaw piece in a much bigger picture. It's not kind of a panacea in its own right.
Okay, I did have one final indication from Councillor Marshall. Can we just obviously make that the last question and move on to the next item if possible, because we have overrun a little bit.
Thanks Liam for a really good presentation. I've got a couple of observations and a couple of questions. And actually some of it in response to some of the other questions that have been raised. So Councillor Pugh talked about what was the offer to those in low paid jobs in the city travelling in from the suburbs. And I think it's quite simply the answer is the Labour government with the nationalisation programme, which will expand on obviously Steve Metro Mayor's approach to what regionalisation of public transport with the trains, ferries and hopefully the buses in the not too distant future. And they'll obviously enact a proper living wage as well, strengthening workers' rights, and tackling the 11 million of corporate welfare that enables huge companies with billions of pounds of profits to pay poverty wages. Councillor Watson also made an interesting point about the validity of the concessionary passes from 9:30. And I think in the region they're issued either at 60 or 65 at the minute. Obviously, the reason that the pensioners, or rather the concessionary pass holders, because they're not all pensioners because the women will be at state pension age, are needing to use the buses earlier is obviously thanks again to the government's austerity measures where we've got rising pension and poverty and an increasing cohort of older people that are in work due to those rising pension ages. I fully support the Combined Authority's aim of collective funding for collective provision of public services. I think you're absolutely right, prioritisation has been a mitigated disaster nationally. I think the information that's been provided on the bus stops, which is joining up the trains and the bus locations, has been really, really useful. I'm a trio holder, so I'm often on the buses and the trains, around Sefton mostly. And I think it's really positive when people that I've spoken to have said it's really useful. And I think the new powers, obviously, that you're investigating could allow actual joined up provision of buses and trains from a transport side, not just from an information side. As you know, air quality in Crosby, Bootle and across Sefton is really a high priority issue for us, and I know there's been a massive amount of work done both at local authority levels and obviously at Liverpool City region levels. So I suppose one of the questions is, we obviously have the ports, we've got the train track, we think we've got some capacity on some older lines that could be brought back into use to alleviate some of that freight on Dunning's Bridge and obviously the Rimrose Valley issue. And I'm just wondering if that is in the rail strategy about the train lines in Bootle. A more local issue for me is the 47 bus. So I live up by Thornton, and the 47 bus is one of the two services that go to my end of my road. But they're actually removing the service from the village of Innsbundle, which can have, it's a new relatively small village, but actually to get to the nearest bus stop is a good, I think it's a good kilometre and a half, and it's an older population there. Whether we've got any leverage with a reader on that 47 service is a question. And the last one is a data question really. So you spoke about fragmented operators, obviously through privatisation. I'm just curious if we can have a hard number across the Liverpool City region of the number of operators, and then have that broken down by the local authority. I think it will just help us visualise how fragmented it really is. Thank you.
Brilliant. And all the initial observations, the answer is yes, I agree with everything you said there. But the particular kind of questions. In terms of the number of operators, on the bus network, I think we've got roughly about 25 bus companies. But actually when you look at kind of density of operation, Arriva have got about 60% of the network, they're by far and away the majority operator. Stagecoach have got almost 30%, these are sort of rough figures. And then it's the rest of the kind of operators that make up the difference. Holton, traditionally then the third largest operator with about 5% of the network. in terms of how it works between what we currently call commercial services, i.e. those that private companies put on and make the money from, that's about 85% of the network, because it's 15% of the network that we step in and subsidise that wouldn't run without that. So that's the high level. We try to break it down by district, but that's not always easy, to be honest with you, because we've got lots of routes which go across a number of districts, and it's always difficult to say, is that a Knowsley bus, is that a St Helens bus, is that a Liverpool one? So it's not always easy to kind of do that kind of breakdown. Particularly this side of the river, it's a bit easier on the Wirral purely because it's a peninsula, so there's less stuff kind of crossing in and out. In terms of the 47 bus, obviously that's not Mersey Travel's proposal, that's a proposal brought forward by Aretha. I think one of the things we've been quite pleased about in the way we've been able to sort of get some improvements through the bus allowance is the fact that for any significant service changes now, we're making sure that any and all of the bus companies are actually doing the consultation exercise. We're about the only part of the country that has that, believe it or not. So what I'd strongly sort of say to you and any of your constituents, please engage with that consultation, because we do know where it's been done and people have raised significant issues, different decisions have been made. If I give a practical example, Stagecoach who operates the 1 and the 2 through the tunnel all the way to Chester, we're proposing stopping those services in the middle of the night, which obviously we all have lots of concerns about, because what's the public transport across the river during the night time. Because of the consultation responses, they changed the service, but they retained it, so it still went Liverpool to Bromborough. So I think it's the consultation is the kind of the opportunity. Final point about rail lines in Bootle. One of the things that we are commencing is some business case work on a feasibility study to improve what we call the Bootle branch. That was a manifesto, Pickett and Steve's manifesto, so we're carrying that out. What that would mean is looking at the current line that goes in and out of the port and how we can improve that line. One, to give it more capacity. Two, to give it a better line speed, so you can actually move more things in and out quicker. But also, if you're going to do that, is there the potential to potentially put passenger services on it as well? Now, obviously at this stage of looking at the work, we don't know what will come out of that, but we do know just how important that piece of infrastructure is for our region. I think in terms of freight issues, the issue tends to be a longer term and longer distance one, because actually to make sure it's more financially viable to put freight on rail rather than on trucks, you've got to be able to shift it about 150 miles or more. The difficulty we've currently got is there isn't a gauge-cleared railway across the north of England that engage to Yorkshire and the East Coast at the moment. So anything that comes into the dock as a container, for example, if it goes out on rail, it would have to go down to Daventry in the Midlands or Carstairs in Scotland to then wend its way across the hall. We often point to, not a container route, but we often point to sort of Drax train that takes about 8 hours to get to Drax power station, for example. So we actually know the kind of freight issue is local, but actually much more national. If we get it right, genuinely, we think we can take 180 million miles of HGV mileage off the UK's motorway network. So we always argue some of these things actually in the whole of the UK's interest to do.
Okay, thanks very much, Liam. Because that presentation took quite a long time, because there's obviously a bit of pressure on the meeting as to how long it can stay core for, and having discussed with officers, I'm going to take a slight change to the order. I'm going to deal with the items 7 and 8 before going to the next presentation. So for the time being, sorry about that. So before we go on to the next item, can we note the update from Councillor Robinson? And thank him. Okay, so moving on to item 7, appointment of scrutiny members to the Audit and Governance Committee 2019-20. This report seeks nomination from this committee for 4 members and 4 substitutes to sit on the Audit and Governance Committee. Could I ask Trudy Bedford, the Statutory Scrutiny Officer, to take us through the report?
Thank you, Chair. As you just alluded to, the report seeks nominations for 4 members and 4 substitute members from this committee to the Audit and Governance Committee. We require that on the basis of 2 Labour councillors, 1 Conservative councillor and 1 Liberal Democrat, and that also needs to be reflected for the substitute appointments as well. The members for last year were Councillor Murphy, Councillor Finneran, Councillor Dr Pugh and Councillor Sarah Ron Watson OBE, and the substitute appointments were Councillor Marshall, Councillor Whitley, Councillor Cashman and Councillor Anderson. I draw the committee's attention to the terms of reference for the Audit and Governance Committee are attached as Appendix 1, and I would also draw your attention to the recommendations contained in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do members have any comments? Can I have the nominations and ask if the recommendation as set out on page 11, paragraph 2.1 of the agenda are approved, please?
Can I move Councillor Murphy and Councillor Finneran?
Is that seconded? No. All in favour? And all against? Any abstentions? Okay, those nominations are passed.
Can I move myself and Councillor Cashman as my substitute?
Is that agreeable? And can we have the Conservative nominations?
It's hardly unusual, Chairman, on this committee that everybody seems to nominate themselves. But that being the case, and based on last year, I'll nominate myself as a Conservative member. I can't recall who the deputy was, but whoever it was, if they're still a member, will no doubt continue.
It was Tom Anderson last year, Councillor Anderson, who is he no longer on the committee? No longer on the committee, so it would have to be somebody else.
On that basis, I'll nominate myself to deputy.
Is that agreeable?
Yes. Chair, if I may, there seems to be a lot of self-nomination from the opposition parties because they don't get together to speak about what they want to do and who's going on what and why. So it's up to them to get together and discuss what they want to do.
Chair, we're not the party that needed to adjourn to sort themselves out for this
Okay,
meeting.
can we not have an argument in the chamber, please? And we do need substitutes from the Labour group, please. Can you put forward nominations?
Which one? Samantha Martin. Louise Willie.
And is that agreeable? Thank you, everybody. Now on to item 8, Liverpool City Region Overview and Scrutiny Committee Work Programme for 2019-2020. The report provides an opportunity for the committee to consider proposals for its work programme for 2019-20. Could I ask Trudy Bedford, the Statutory Scrutiny Officer, to take us through the report?
Thank you, Chair. This report presents proposals for the committee to consider their work programme for this municipal year. Attached at Appendix 1 is a draft programme for the meetings of this committee, and to supplement this, it is proposed that the Metro Mayor continue to be invited to these committee meetings. Work will also be undertaken to bring back updated reports on the implementation of recommendations of previous task and finish groups. Section 4 of the report focuses on detailed scrutiny activity to be undertaken in task and finish groups. As task and finish groups can be intensive, it is proposed that a maximum of 3 are held during the course of this municipal year. To guide members on potential topics for task and finish groups, Section 4.7 of the report proposes a number of topics for members' consideration, and if members do have any topics which they wish to propose, I would draw your attention to paragraph 4.5, which provides some guidance on determining whether the topic will be suitable for a task and finish group. If topics are identified by the committee, it would be helpful to have an indication of which groups you would like to participate in. Officers will then undertake the necessary arrangements and members will be kept informed of that progress. I draw the committee's attention to the recommendations as set out in Page 21, thank you, Chair.
Do members have any comments? Councillor Murphy?
Thanks, Chair. Under paragraph 4.7, I know we've previously had a questionnaire circulated and people have put suggestions forward, but we've heard today about the new bus powers that are coming through spring next year, and I'd like to suggest that the committee do a pre-scrutiny on that proposal.
Is that a proposal that the whole committee would endorse? I'm conscious there's a couple of councillors that wish to speak, so I don't know if you want to hear what they have to say before we proceed, and then I can give the advice.
Thank you. I'll take Councillor Sir Watson, CV, followed by Councillor Marshall.
Thank you. I mean, obviously colleagues will all have their different priorities, but I know from our meeting 6th of November there are 2 items that are there for update, and I'm sure that will be helpful, but on a personal level I really do support more work and more action on apprenticeships, and I'm concerned that there are rumours, I'll put no stronger emphasis than that this is a programme across the whole of Merseyside that is starting to run into some difficulty, and it's critical, I think, from our point of view, that we get on top of this and make sure we support the mayor. I know it has been very helpful with this, and there have been these initiatives that have already been taken. So at the very least, I'd like to see it on the agenda for the 6th of November, but ideally I'd like it on the 4th of September. I do think it should be a priority.
Can I just clarify that you're proposing moving it from the 4th of March meeting to the 6th of November, so it's discussed at an earlier date? Is that agreeable to the committee? Okay. Councillor Marshall?
Thank you, Chair. Can I just ask a question on the last point? We've already got 3 in for September. If we move apprenticeships from March, was it to September? To November. So that just becomes the 3rd strand of the November. Thank you. And my point was really just largely pertaining to Paul. There's obviously Liam had mentioned around the Buses Act 2017 recommendations would be for spring 2020. So it's just whether it falls within this work programme for this year, or it might fall obviously then. But if it's available, then yeah, I'd like to see it in this year.
Thank you for that. Could Councillor Robertson confirm if that would be possible, maybe?
I'm very conscious not for me to tell you what to scrutinise, you know, that's for you. We're more than happy to kind of fit in with whatever you request, and I think that would be valuable. I think the one point I'd just caution, some of the work we've been doing genuinely is commercially confidential, so a lot of the things we've had to do to get the business case at this point have been under that kind of cover. So any pre-scrutiny work, we'd have to kind of think about how we deal with that accordingly. So I think that's probably a discussion for offline, but obviously more than happy to kind of work with whatever you think is the right approach.
Thank you. I'm going to use Chair's prerogative to make a suggestion as well. One of the aspirations that the Metro Mayor frequently cites is to become carbon neutral by a given date. I think 2040 is the date he speaks about. So could we have an item to see whether his plans stand up to scrutiny, whether he's really got a plan to achieve that in that timescale?
Chairman, if I may, there's obviously a couple of suggestions there from the committee, and we've got the topics outlined in paragraph 4.7 of the report. I think given that we were trying to distill this down to 3 topics, 3 tasks and finish groups, I just want to try and get to a position of consensus, if we may, Chair.
Councillor Murphy?
Thanks, Chair. I think what you're suggesting would probably just be a report back to the committee as opposed to
the task and finish group and update report, because we did have a workshop on the renewables, and I know I'm going to get a presentation as well, so maybe just an update report at some point in the cycle. I wanted to ask also about the meeting on the 15th of January, which is regarding the finance. Last year, we got the budget details very late, and we were under quite a bit of pressure to scrutinise what we could on that. And I was wondering if at the meeting of the 6th of November, if there could be anything sort of preliminary regarding the budget and how it's being worked up at that stage. Not expecting chapter and verse, but at least to give us a heads up on what's going through on the budget.
Sounds like a good suggestion. I'll leave that with the officers to try to respond.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to mention, I think in light of the experience that we had last year, which was the first time we'd done the budget scrutiny, we've moved the timeline back, and I think it's a week earlier. And I think you mentioned this in the contact day that we had recently. So we have gone for a week earlier. I think if you're looking for something over and above that, if you could let us know, then we can see what we can do to facilitate that.
Chair, if I could just come back. I feel as though the committee should be part of the budget process and not just presented with the budget. So at an earlier stage, if we could have some sort of information on where things are going and if we can make any recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Marshall.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just ask for some clarity around what is within the remit and what we would just have as an update? So I know we did the workshop last year as identified in 4.4, and we were expecting updates on those. But for a task and finish point of view as an overview and scrutiny committee, are there some that we should prioritise because they're fully aligned in the remit of the combined authority? I'm not aware that housing in and of itself is in the remit.
I'm advised that it's our call, so I suppose we need to put forward proposals for how different items are handled and how we move things forward. I guess by treaty, I presume. Yeah? Councillor Marshall.
Thanks, Chair. Can I just ask then if these suggested meeting topics have been prioritised out of the responses that were to the questionnaire that Charles sent round, which I was very late responding to, sorry Charles.
Thank you. They are what we shared at the meeting in March, so that programme follows on from discussions that we had at the meeting in March. The housing strategy is being developed by the combined authority, so there will be one that kind of follows on from what the information you had at your workshop. That's why we thought it might be pertinent to come to the meeting, but yeah, it's entirely up to yourselves what you want on that agenda.
Councillor Marshall.
So just following on from obviously the questionnaire that Charles sent round, has it been updated to include that? If this was sort of the draft proposal in March and then all those questionnaires came back, does it mean or is this, would they prioritise then from the questionnaire? Sorry.
Chair, if I may, there were only 4 questionnaires returned, and from the 4 questionnaires that were returned, your topics are included in there, and has been taken into account, especially low carbon and environmental issues are included, yes.
Okay, great. So, just to say then I would move that we prioritise the 4 returnees topics, if you could inform what those were. Please.
Chair, the list that came back with the 4 returned questionnaires were carbon-free transport, the LEP, environmental and low carbon, culture and economic development.
I think we should try and move this forward now. Can I ask that the recommendation as set out on page 21, paragraph 2.1 of the agenda are approved, please? Is that agreed? No? Councillor Murphy.
The recommendations are to agree those topics as in the report, which we've just said are not probably the priorities. The joint ticketing was agreed at the last committee by all members of the committee as well. So we can't just go on what's on the questionnaires. And I've just mentioned about the pre-scrutiny item as well for the legal suppose.
In order to get to the magic number of 3, which is what we think we can accommodate in terms of staff and resources, at the moment you've got the additional recommendation of Bus Services Act. If I can help the debate in any way, I just wonder whether that would perhaps be the subject of a workshop to determine whether pre-scrutiny would help assist in that, because obviously there's quite a lot of work already being done through officers and being overseen by the Transport Committee. So I just wonder whether a workshop to kind of determine whether that's something that should be a subject of a task and finish group would help to facilitate thinking. And then if you look back at the list that Charles has just read out from the returnees to the scrutiny questionnaire, you've got the LEP, which coincides with something that was referenced last year. You've got a couple of people wanting carbon-free, low-carbon transport, energy sort of requirements. And then that would leave, from those that return to the questionnaire, culture and economic development, or those listed in 4.7, or indeed something completely new. So I think it's just trying to distill it down. So if we park bus services, I don't know if that's a joke or not, but if you park bus services and perhaps use that as a workshop if that's agreeable, to start with, to determine whether it's something you want to add to your list of tasks and finish, you perhaps just pick 2 today and then reserve your position on a 3rd. I don't know if that helps the room, Chairman.
Councillor Wainwright.
Chair, given that work has already been started on the Bus Act and what may happen within the city region, I'm quite happy to wait for that piece of work to be finished, but then come to here to see if there's any more recommendations that can be done, to be put forward, to scrutinise it, because it's already been said, that's not a statutory body, this is. So I think it needs to come here once it's been finished, once the work has been finished there for scrutiny.
I think we might need to be flexible on that one, because it might end up being, it might be next year. So should we just agree as a group that if the opportunity arises to scrutinise that report, we will all go ahead and we'll somehow schedule that in, even if it requires an extra meeting.
I'm happy with that too.
Councillor Murphy.
Given that we're going to be a bit flexible and maybe leave that till, can we agree the LEP and the joint ticketing for the 2 work task and finish groups?
I have to agree. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll take Councillor Marshall, then Councillor O'Brien, and then we'll maybe move that.
Thanks, Chair. I think with this year being the year of the environment, I think the low carbon and carbon neutral is absolutely key. It ties into the air quality, it will tie into the amazing tidal. You know, I think we might be able to do a joint thinking and cover a couple of different dates there, but as that was what was returned by those people, those councillors that obviously engaged with the questionnaire, I feel that should be a priority with the LEP and the
So the aim is to select 2 now, leaving 1 open to be decided at a later date. I agree with the low carbon as an